Hello and welcome to part 2 of your 3-point perspective practice. We did part 1, which is the worm's eye view. Now we're going to do part 2, the bird's eye view below. So just make sure you have your name and period on it. I labeled mine. You can label yours as well, although it should be fairly obvious to me which one it is. Okay, so for worm's eye view, the horizon line was really low. For a bird's eye view, the horizon line is going to be high on your paper. So I'm going to go fairly high, making sure my ruler's lined up on the edge for a straight horizon line. You can also move horizon lines, but we'll talk about that in the 4th installment of your practices. All right, so remember that this is your horizon line. You have VP1 and VP2 always on the horizon line. You can move them in or out, but they're always, or off the page, but they're always on the horizon line. All right, then we're going to, and I'm going to offset mine a little bit. Instead of having it in the center, I'm going to move over slightly. Your third vanishing point, you can move anywhere down below. So the closer you get to the vanishing point, the more extreme. So we're going to go a little bit further away, and I'm going to do VP3. So VP3, you can kind of move around. All right, so for bird's eye view, you can usually see the tops of things. So I'm going to start with a corner. The corner always has to line up with the third vanishing point. I'm going to go tilted on this one a little bit, just slightly. And I'm going to cut it off like maybe I'd want to put a street or a road. Okay, so then the right-hand side of the corner goes to the right vanishing point, or VP number 2. Top and bottom. And then the left goes to the first vanishing point on the left side. Okay. And then the cutoffs, the sides, are parallel to the corner in reality, so it uses the same vanishing point as the corner. Or you could just remember the sides always get cut off with the third vanishing point. So then I'm going to erase my extra lines of convergence after my cutoff. I like to erase as I go, clean up as you go, because then it gets really confusing about like what lines are you actually using. Okay, so then for the top part, I'm going to line up this corner with the left vanishing point, because this side, and this side are going to be parallel to each other, so they use the same vanishing point. And so again, the closer you get to the horizon line, the more extreme the view. So then I'm going to take the upper left corner and line it up with the right vanishing point. Goes all the way. And then where it crosses, then that tells you like where the back corner is. So similar to what we did here, but now you're just seeing it on top of a structure. Okay, erase lines of convergence you don't need. So then if I wanted to build something on top of that, I could. Let's say I do for this one want my corners to line up, but I want it to be like kind of set back a little bit, like give it some space. So I have those corners that line up. Then same thing again and again. The top and bottom go to the right-hand side of the corner, go to the right vanishing point. Top and bottom on the left, go to the left vanishing point. And now it is going to look pretty extreme because it's getting really close to the horizon line. I could have it go above the horizon line and then it would kind of, angle down. But I'm trying to stay all below for this one. Okay, so I'm going to erase out the original structure line that I don't need, just so that's not confusing. Okay, so then I'm going to cut off. So let's say I want it to cut off before, like maybe here, a little bit before the edge of the first structure. So then I'm going to use that as a guideline to line up with my third vanishing point. So the corner lines up with the third vanishing point, the sides line up with the third vanishing point. I can erase my extra lines of convergence I no longer need. Okay, so I'm going to finish that line. Finish that line. Okay, so then I do the same thing. This upper right-hand corner goes to the left, and this upper left-hand corner goes to the right. So we're doing the opposites to see the top or bottoms of things, and this will be really, really quite extreme. That's really close to the horizon line. Then if I wanted to build another structure, I could, and then that would angle down because now it's above the horizon line or you're looking up at it. Okay, so then let's say I wanted to add like a street or a road that this building is on. So I'm going to do like sidewalk or a structure. I'm going to do sidewalk first. Okay, go in a little bit. So it looks about even. Okay, so I have a little baby sidewalk. Let's say I wanted a road. And this is very similar to 2-point. Actually, it is 2-point. And then I just, like, for consistency purposes, I'm going to do a little sidewalk on that side. Sidewalk on that side. So notice how your sidewalk gets thinner as it goes. Notice how your sidewalk gets thinner as it goes back into the distance. So let's say I wanted an intersection right here. Okay. So then for the little dash lines, I would line those up with my, I'd probably find a midpoint like right there. And then I can use that to really get closer together and smaller as they get further away. I'm ignoring that. It's Mr. Odom. I'm in the middle of recording, Mr. Odom. Okay, going back into the distance. So then if I wanted to add another structure, another building over here, it's gonna become really a lot more extreme. So I'm gonna line up the corner with my third vanishing point. Okay. So it's getting very extreme, coming down into a V, kind of. Okay, so the bottom is the sidewalk. So I'm just gonna use that line already there. And the top and bottom go to the right vanishing point. Then I'm going to line up the bottom part, going to the left vanishing point. So I lined up that the end of the corner. Okay, top of the corner to the left vanishing point. And then you can decide where you want to cut it off. So let's say I want to go like maybe here, just so I have a back corner to use for the top part. And over here, where the cutoffs always happen, the sides always get cut off with that third vanishing point. So the closer to the horizon line, the more extreme it looks. So I'm going to take this corner and line up with the right vanishing point, and this corner line up with the left, and it will show me where the very back corner is, wherever they intersect. Okay. So then I could build, like, let's say I wanted to add a structure going above the horizon line, which is fine for bird's eye. It doesn't 100% have to be below. I'm going to go above. So I start with a corner. Right hand side goes to the right vanishing point. I'm just going to make it a little one. And because it is so close to the horizon line, it will look pretty extreme. Okay, so I have top and bottom went to the right vanishing point, top and bottom went to the left vanishing point on the left side. Okay, edges, third vanishing point. So that's an example of a little bit above and below. And I'll erase stuff out of the inside and make it look more 3D. Okay, so we're gonna put a huge opening on here so I can show you how to use the vanishing points for the interior corners. So I'm gonna start with like just a rectangular opening on this whole side, and then kind of similar to the one above, and then I'll turn it into like an archway. What if you want like archways that are open? All right, so X marks the spot for the center, so find the center. And that's more if you're going to have an archway later on. I would just like to have the center, especially if I'm going to divide, you know, if I wanted to, I could put an X just in one of these locations, and I could divide into 4s. I could put an X on this side, and I can divide, so there's 4 windows across the way. So X marks the spot, and so once you have a division, like this is only divided into 2, then you just mark an X somewhere on both sides, and you can divide it into 4, and then you take one of those divisions, make an X, you can divide it into 8, etc., etc. Okay, so I just want that for later. Okay, so if I'm going to do an opening, then the top and bottom align with the same vanishing point as the wall. So top and bottom align with this right vanishing point or structure, wall structure. Okay, so then I'm going to do the bottom, and it's going to be much smaller because it's way far down there. Okay, so then the sides, go to the third vanishing point always. And then you want to make sure whatever you're lining it up with and the vanishing point are on the same side as the ruler. So I kind of double check that before I draw. Okay, so I have an opening. Okay. So then I'm going to lighten that for a little bit. We'll use that later. I asked myself, okay, so I'm looking above. I can see the bottom, and then this opening is to the right of the original corner, this one. So I'd be able to see the bottom and the right-hand side. So when you do interior angles, you use the opposite vanishing point. So if I can see the bottom and the right, that means I'd be able to use the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm going to use that little baby corner. I'm going to line up with the left vanishing point for an interior angle. Now let's say I was going to keep it just rectangular as it is now. So then I'm going to use that interior angle, and I'm going to draw the inside. Oh, that's pretty extreme. Because it's parallel to this one, therefore it uses the same vanishing point. Okay, then the bottom side uses the right vanishing point, so I'm going to use the same vanishing point, and I'm going to line it up with the interior angle. Okay. So then I could leave it like that, or maybe I want to put windows inside there. So actually, let's disregard that X for now. If I wanted to turn it, actually, now I need that X. If I wanted to turn it into an arched way, then I'm going to give myself a guideline for where the X is. And I'm going to kind of mark it for myself, like here. So that's where the center of the curve would be. So when I'm turning this into an archway, I want the height of my curve to be there. And so then it's going to curve much more extreme and sink into itself. And so then, clean it up a little bit. So if you wanted to show thickness, sometimes people would keep that. Maybe I wanted to, like, you know, do something decorative in there. if I wanted to. Actually, this archway should come over a little bit. It's a really extreme view of a countersunk curve. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so then I would just curve this part into itself. So I would just curve that so that it's a countersunk curve like we learned on the letters in Art 1-2. Very similar. So now it looks more of a curved opening. And I could, maybe I want stained glass and I want to design it or do something artistic in my drawing. So the biggest thing to remember is that your horizon line is pretty high on the paper and your vanishing point is low. And you can move that third vanishing point. So now I have it kind of coming over this way. I could have it coming in the middle. I could have it coming over here, depending on where you put that third vanishing point. So again, let's say I want to turn, like I wanted this building to be like a more traditional building with stories. I could do the same thing. I just evenly divide, and actually your story should get a little bit bigger as they get closer to you. And then you would line up the sides to the vanishing point that the wall uses. Let's say I want multiple windows on that. So X marks the spot. So then I'm going to do the vertical division. Erase my X. Actually, I can still kind of see it. This might help you also, like if you have the center, like that tells you where the middle of the building is. So that actually is the building, half of the building in your view of perspective. So this is a way more extreme view than the one above. So I'm going to get a little bit smaller as I go down. You can eyeball it. You just want to make sure, you know, it's like a smooth transition of size. Okay, so then I get to the halfway point, and if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories above, and I would need 6 stories below. So then it would be like that, you know, increased view as you go further. Okay, so there is part 2. So if you wanted to play around a little bit more, you absolutely can, but here's some basics that you might want to include in your sketches. So you'll have these to look back over for your sketching, and you don't have to fill in it, just so you can see a little bit better. Later we'll do some shading, etc. Okay, so that was part 2.